For years, my execution was up and down because my motivation was up and down. And if you fast forward to today, I exercise, I pray, I lead my home, even on those kind of low motivation days when I don't feel like it. And if you are someone who has ever told yourself, I just could do it if I could stay motivated, I'd follow through better if I was motivated. That belief is the trap. I didn't fix motivation. I just made one simple tweak that made motivation irrelevant. And so by the end of this video, you're going to have that framework. But uh, first, we got to talk about the lie that you've been believing, and that is that you need motivation. That's a total lie. You don't actually need motivation. And the fact that you believe that lie is the single most important reason that you're being held back from achieving those meaningful things that you want to achieve. Motivation is a terrible master, but it's a decent servant, right? Motivation is a mood. It comes and goes. You cannot build your life on something that comes and goes. You can't build a good marriage. You can't build a household. You can't build a healthy body on mood swings and motivation shifts. If your standard is when I feel like it, I will, whatever, then drift is pretty much guaranteed. Even the most successful people in the world have very inconsistent motivation. And so if you expect to feel it, then you're guaranteeing that you're going to drift in your body, your habits, your spiritual life, your family life. And so we need to remember that my feelings are real, but they don't get a vote. Every time we break our word to ourselves, we have to remember that our kids are watching and they're thinking to themselves, he doesn't even do what he says he's going to do for himself. Why should I do what he says to do? He's telling himself to do these things and then he doesn't actually follow through. His word doesn't mean anything. And so you're lacking weight in your word and your authority before you ever even go to correct your kids. Also, every time that you break your word, you are teaching your own subconscious mind that what I say doesn't matter, that I don't actually do what I commit to. And that is eroding your own internal trust and it's making future follow through less likely, which just becomes this kind of like cycle of self fulfilling prophecy. And you have to break that cycle by creating follow through in smaller ways. You got to stack up this tiny stuff. And so I'm going to show you how to do that in the next few moments here in this video. And it starts with this idea of an MEI or the minimum effective input. This is the smallest, kind of grittiest thing that still counts on your worst day, but it has to move the needle. There's two rules for the MEI. If you cannot do it when you're tired, stressed, or discouraged, then it's not an MEI. And if it's so small that you can't feel it or score it or notice any change, then it's not effective. So it's not MEI, right? Because it's minimum effective input. So you don't need a better mood. You just need kind of like a better starting point to go after. You need to be able to still feel like you actually did something. And so again, MEIs they have to be easy to execute. So no friction, no elaborate setup, no negotiating with yourself. Like you have to be able to get over those normal hurdles, and then they have to be easy to measure. They have to be clear enough that you can say yes, I did it, or no, I didn't do it, so that your brain gets that dopamine hit from the follow through, and it actually creates more follow through later. So you think about reading the Bible, it's like, rather than reading four chapters a day to get through the Bible in a year, you say, like, okay, I'm going to grab that one verse of those few verses and actually chew on them and have one takeaway or one prayer that comes out of it. That's an MEI. Or I'm going to do 25 push ups every single day rather than, try to get the workout that's perfect that actually never happens on a consistent basis. Or I'm just going to pray that one, quick prayer every night with the kids rather than trying to start off with being the guy who prays for like 2 hours in a day or in a setting, right? And so you got to remember our kids, we don't need like highlight reels for them. They need the dad who has like small, visible promises that he keeps every day. And the MEI is really how we train our mind to trust our own word and we train them to trust our word at the same time. But the kicker here is that even the best MEI will die if it just kind of floats in your day. It's just something that you decided and you don't have a spot for it. It has to be nailed to a specific moment, or else it's going to drift like anything else that you do. So that brings us to the next point, which is that MEIs have to work inside a system and they have to be anchored to something that you already do. So the framework here would be find an anchor, introduce the MEI, and then track it. And an anchor is just something that happens every single day, no matter what. So we're not looking for something that we do when we're on fire for the Lord, or when we're feeling our best for our workouts, or we're showing up as the best dad. This is something that happens every single time. And then the MEI is the minimum rep that you're going to tack onto that, and then you're going to track this over the course of time. One example for us is that, we wanted to be a praying family, and we were really struggling to figure out, like, well, how do we make this happen? All the attempts that we made felt like it was too big, and it would fall short, or it was too small and it wasn't meaningful. It wasn't that MEI kind of framework. So we decided, what do we do every single day, no matter what? Well, we happen to be the kind of family that eats dinner around the dinner table every single day, 7 nights a week. And so we decided, okay, well, what can we attach to that? So we got this, glass jar, and we filled it with those, big, popsicle sticks, and we wrote prayers on it, and everybody added prayers to the jar. And then every night I just pass out the sticks. It's all random. They get whatever stick they get, and when it's their turn to pray, they pause eating and they pray while everyone keeps eating. And every single night we pray. Every single member of my family is praying, and for all different things that we're contending for. So we don't have any setup. We don't have to decide what to pray. We don't have to create a special time to pray. We don't have to, like, explain what we're praying about or do any of the stuff that usually creates friction, but is effective because we're praying for all the things that are really meaningful to us, and we're praying together as a family, and we're doing it daily. And so it's got to be small enough that you never need to negotiate with yourself to do it, but it has to be steady enough to slowly reset the culture of your table and your entire home as you're doing it. Now, once you have an MEI nailed to an anchor, it can't remain as this cute little life hack. Like, it has to have roots, it has to have a why. And so that's where standards come into play. You need standards. Every man needs standards, and you have to decide in advance what you're going to do and what you're going to refuse to do, no matter what kind of day you're having. But if you're not careful, that can be like a list on the refrigerator that is kind of just this thing imposing on you. It's like this outside vague set of rules. So we have to anchor it in who we are becoming. We have to add identity to it. So generic standards sound like, I'm going to read my Bible every day, no matter what, or I will work out 3 times a week, no matter what, or I'm going to be more present at home. They're better than nothing. Those standards are necessary, but if they live outside of you, again, it's going to feel like a list imposing on you. So we need identity based standards, and these just take things a layer deeper. This is, like, I will read at least one verse before I touch my phone, because I want to be the man who hears from God before I check social media or whatever it is. Or I am the kind of man who does that. I want to move my body for 10 minutes a day because I'm the kind of guy who takes responsibility for his health. Or the example I gave earlier, I pray at dinner with my family because I am a father who leads spiritually, not just a provider. So a standard says, this is what I do no matter what. And an identity based standard is, this is what I do no matter what, because this is who I want to become, or this is who I am, or this is who I'm called to be. And this is where you begin to kind of weld your MEI and your anchor and all of that and your identity all together, right? So again, the anchor is dinner. The prayer setup is the simple thing we do together, and my identity based standards is, at dinner I pray with my family because I'm the father who brings God to the table and sets the tone. And so when your standards are rooted in identity, then you kind of avoid the thing where you just grit your teeth through a set of rules. You're actually acting in alignment with what you've already decided to be as a man. Now, the real enemy that shows up after all of this is kind of set in place is actually boredom, not motivation. And so most men, they do fine when everything's new and it's intense or it's exciting or whatever, it's novel. But when all that stuff wears off, then they start hunting for the next thing. And so there's nothing exciting or sexy about reading from a popsicle stick every single night and praying those things with your family. There's just not. And but there is a compound interest that takes place, and boredom is where you're kind of systems and standards actually prove their worth. Because if you think about it like investing, if you keep putting money in the stock market and when it's not like an exciting up into the right time, it's like a kind of stale time. It's like, well, what happens if you just keep taking your money out and you never leave it in there? Well, you're not going to build wealth. And in the same way, if you keep abandoning your habits because they feel boring or they're not life changing enough, like you're going to cut off your own spiritual, physical, and relational growth. The men who see real fruit are not ones that are like constantly chasing the new thing. They're the ones that kind of plant themselves in the ground, they like root their feet and they keep their standards and they let time and consistency do the work. So here's what you want to do today. You want to pick one domain. This is going to be health or prayer or family leadership or whatever it is. Choose one daily anchor that you already have without fail. It doesn't have to be associated to health. So I don't have to anchor something health related to something health related. Just pick an anchor, define your MEI that you can hit on your worst day, attach it to the anchor, and start tracking this for 14 days. It's simple. There's no heroics. And when you're done with these 14 days, you're reinforcing to your subconscious mind that you're the guy that follows through and that you're going to see fruit from this. And so you're going to bear fruit and it's going to remind you, oh, I can do these small things consistently and I can see great change. So now you're going to do more small things and you're going to go find the next anchor and the next MEI and, define your standards around identity for the next thing and then execute for 14 days and you build this momentum that is just undeniable if you do this, but you have to start small and you have to follow through. Now, if you want MEIs and micro actions that actually fit your life in a customized way, then you also need the right assessment. And this is going to be one that's going to surface your true bottlenecks, that gives you an 8-week plan of MEIs built around your key issues, your season, your limits, your responsibilities, and it completely takes the guessworks out of those steps. And so, if you want that, you can get that by taking the Fatherhood Strength Assessment in the description below or in the comments. So, it's time to stop chasing motivation. You need to design a system that makes motivation irrelevant. And what you got today helps you do that. So it's time to go take action.